Alright everybody, and welcome to another First Impressions video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Wigmund. This is a pretty interesting looking action RPG that I've seen advertisements for several times over on Twitter and figured we'd give it a look. Full disclosure, I was given a copy of this game via keymailer. For those of you that are unfamiliar with keymailer, it's basically a third-party website that allows developers to reach out to content creators, giving them the opportunity to have their game showcased, reviewed, or even streamed. If you yourself are a content creator, this is a very valuable tool. I'll leave a link down in the description so you can go check it out for yourself. That said, let's get started. After launching the game, you find yourself on a very pleasant pier, very sunny day, filling the role of Wigmund. We're here at his farm, just living our best life, but things will soon go awry. Before that, however, make sure that you grab up all the supplies that are on the dock, including the barrel lid, as this is going to be your first piece of armor. There are tons of other supplies laying around that you're going to want to pick up. Also be sure to head inside the house and pick up all of the sparkly supplies that are inside, as a lot of these are going to be health items, and you're going to want those as you progress through the story. The other thing I would suggest grabbing is the bow here on the wall. The bow can be easily missed if you don't rotate your screen properly, and be sure to take note of the fire. We're going to need that soon. So in this game, there are 3 different weapon types. You have your one-handed weapons, which you can also have a shield for. You have your two-handed weapons, and you have your ranged weapons. I myself do prefer the bow. Now, the shield can also be used in conjunction with the bow. However, the top 3 stats that you can see here do not apply if you equip it to your back. It in fact acts as armor. So it's a nice early starting item if you're looking to stay alive. Our first quest is to remove all of the boar from our farm. It's very easy to do. The first couple enemies don't actually deal very much damage. And you have plenty of dodge rolls and side steps that you can use to avoid taking too much damage. Once they're cleared out, we can move on. After clearing out the boars, Wigman notes that he remembers hearing of a house that's got plenty of supplies, including weapons to help him defend his property a little bit better. Now, there is a basement key that you're going to want to pick up inside the house from the dresser. Before we head to our first quest location, however, I would suggest going down this path here. There is a tent at the end that will have some pretty interesting stuff for us. You're going to want to be careful though, because there are a few wolves hanging out. They will deal a little bit of damage, but nothing too crazy. After reaching the tent, you'll find yourself your first side quest, as well as some supplies. One thing you're going to want to make sure to grab is the shovel blade and your first profession. There are 3 types of professions in this game. The first being your survival skill, and that's the one you're going to pick up first. Your survival skill allows you to cook all of your different types of foods. It also allows you to gather more creatures. Right now, I won't be able to pick up this rabbit, but at our house here, we will find plenty of chickens that we can pick up and roast. Cooked items act as outside of combat healing items. As you can see, if we pop open our inventory here, it will give us a little bit of health per second for 15 seconds. Not a bad item to have. If you get injured in between combat, I would strongly suggest trying to gather up a couple of these chickens to bring with you, and plenty of apples. You're also going to want to take note of the different colors associated with each of the crafted items. Pink usually means they're pretty difficult, and you'll get a nice chunk of XP for making each of these items. The items will then turn green, meaning that they're a little less difficult, still give you nice XP. If the item turns white, you'll no longer receive experience points, and you're probably going to want to craft yourself something a lot more hardy. Another thing you're going to want to do before you leave is come over here to the right side of your house, where we find a barrel with a handle for the shovel we just picked up. The shovel is now a usable item that we can bring right over here to this rock and begin to dig. There's some pretty nice resources here that you're going to want to get early on, including a helmet. Boom! First piece of solid gear. Now you're also going to dig up a couple items listed as miscellaneous. These items are not usable for anything except for trading with vendors. After you've picked yourself up some weapons and some armor, it's time to cross this bridge and follow the path all the way down to the building that's got some supplies for us. Along the road, you'll encounter even more wolves. They can be a little bit more dangerous. You're going to want to be careful as to not have too many of them attack you at once. It can be a little bit overwhelming until you've learned the dodge mechanics, especially if you get a lot of them on you at once. And later on, you will have 2 or 3 at a time. And creatures in this game do link, meaning creatures of similar type, if aggroed, will also trigger all the ones in close proximity to also attack you. There is a tether system in place. If you run too far away, the creature will run back to where it spawned from. This does give the creature a significant amount of health back. They will occasionally not be completely full health, but most of the time this can be pretty rough, so try to be careful as to not dodge roll too far out of their aggro range. Along the road, you'll also come across this here cave. Now you can enter here and attempt to get some armor early on. There is a full leather set down there that you're going to want to get. However, there is a quest later on that brings us back to this cave, so for the time being it's easier to just skip this and come back to it when you have access to the full cave, as sections of it will be cut off. But now we've reached our house. It's seen better days, but one thing to note is this invisible chest here. You're going to get an item later on that will allow you to reveal this, and it's got some pretty nice stuff in it too. But just exploring around the house, we do have some scrolls hidden throughout. There's one over here and one in that chest, but the main reason we're here is to get the supplies out of the basement. We've now reached our first dungeon. Down here you will find a few rats. They're not very difficult to take out. They do group up and give you a little bit harder time further in, but nothing you can't handle. After eliminating the rats and opening the chest in the center of the room, you will receive your first piece of leather armor. Fantastic. Beyond that chest is another room that you're going to want to go visit as we get our next profession, medicine. Now, medicine allows you to craft, well, potions, bandages, healing items, stamina, all those good things, but it also determines how capable you are of gathering herbs. So keep that in mind as you level all of these skills. Even if you don't need a potion, getting that XP will benefit you much later on. Once you've reached the large room to the right, you will find a scroll that you're going to want to pick up and a large chest, which teaches us our first skills. The scroll will actually teach us the bandages, which is really good. And of course we get cleave and power arrow. Cleave is going to be your melee ability, which currently using a bow, so doesn't really do much for us. But we do have power arrow now. It's a pretty interesting animation. I like it. Your list of skills can be found over here on your character sheet. Just tab over one section and you can see our 2 skills, rank 1. In order to level these skills, you'll have to meet a trainer much later on in the game that will allow you to go ahead and upgrade each of these. They will cost you a bit of coin, so make sure that you're picking up plenty as you go along. After checking out your new skills, be sure to click the door and we learn that we need another key, meaning we have to meet up with an old friend. On your travels, you will come across these statues here. I would recommend grabbing the rune that hides right behind the shield on each of these as you come across them, because you will need to gather them up much later on. This is the item that you're going to need to reveal that hidden chest. Our next goal, now that we're well equipped, is to take out the boar that's been terrorizing our farm. This will be your first boss level encounter. Be sure that your health is nice and topped up, as it can do a little bit of damage and its 2 little minions will definitely get in the way. It's just a boar, right? What could go wrong? Let's do this. After defeating the boar, be sure to pick up its tusk, as this will be extremely useful later on for making something pretty awesome. As you progress through the game, your XP bar down the bottom will fill up and you'll gain a couple different stats. You can see how many you have down here. I prefer to put a lot of my stats into agility, as that does increase your attack speed. The bow does fire a bit slow, so every bit that you can get is awesome. Upon returning home from your epic adventure, we find some unfortunate news. One of our lambs has been slaughtered. The tracks indicate wolves. It's now time to head back to the wolf den. Once you've reached the wolf den and entered inside, you'll see plenty of wolves running around. There are a number of other creatures that you will have to take out, including a boss, so make sure that you're prepared. Go down all the side paths, gather up yourself a nice set of armor. However, we're not going to traverse this ourselves just now. You're going to have to check out the demo for yourself over on Steam to have the opportunity to experience it for yourself. Instead, we're going to move on and talk about the mechanics of the game. As you progress through the game, you will find yourself with new skills, as well as a ton of different armor types. This here is the Berserker set. It's pretty darn good, because it has a lot of extra stats to it. But as you can see, looking at the character sheet, there are a ton of different slots that you can equip items to, as well as some trinkets and your accessories. Now, there are plenty of quest items that you can pick up along the way, including ancient armor pieces and stuff like that. And there are a ton of quests. Bringing up our quest log here, as you can see, these are the ones that I've completed so far, and I still have a ton more to do. There is plenty of content here if you're looking for a game that will take you a lot of hours to complete. Moving back to professions briefly, there is a third profession that you will be able to get during the gameplay, which is your crafting skill. Now, this skill determines how well you gather different resources, including leather and different types of metal, and your ability to smelt and tan each of these items. There are different armor pieces that you're going to be able to craft with this profession as well. You're going to want to level these up as often as possible, so that way you can gather even better resources and make even better armor. quickly looking at the map, the first map was quite small, probably about this size here. But now, here's our little character, and here is all of the area that you have to explore. It's actually quite a large map with a lot of various enemies that you're going to have to face in order to make yourself some pretty cool equipment. There are also a number of NPCs that you're going to be able to interact with that'll give you even more quests as you go through. Once you've reached your first major settlement, there are chests where you can store all of your items. Be sure to keep an eye out for these quest items from killing bosses, because you will be needing these to make some pretty awesome things later on. Now, let's briefly go over the different types of weapons that you'll find within the game. So, as before, you can equip a shield to your back, and there are a number of shields that you can get. Using a one-handed weapon will allow you to equip 2 different shields, which makes you pretty tanky, but also really, really heavy. You will get anything from mauls to swords to hammers, and depending on your agility, you can probably swing these pretty darn quickly. Now, there are 2-handed weapons in the game as well, including claymores and battle axes. These are going to be much, much slower. However, they do a lot of damage. Inevitably, everything boils down to the pros and the cons list. First, let's go over the scope of the game. So, there is your starting area, which is fairly small, but you do move into a much larger map with a ton more quests. You will definitely get many hours out of this game, assuming that you do all the side quests and you're able to acquire all of the really cool armor before reaching the end of the game. Let's talk about the price point. For the size of the game, it's only $9 on Steam, and there is a demo for you to try out the game before you make a purchase, which is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, developers, for putting out your game for people to try, and to keymailer for giving me the opportunity to try this one. Next, let's talk about the visuals. I do enjoy the look of this game. It does have a ton of different locations for you to explore, including rivers and forests and towns, and even hell. Yes, you heard that right. We have to enter the belly of a volcano, which there's a lot of really mean enemies down there. Make sure you're well equipped before reaching northwestern part of the map. Next, let's go over the cons. So, the game does have a few flaws in the combat system. You can roll into areas where you will get stuck on things. This happens so infrequently that it's barely of note. The other thing, as a bow user, if for whatever reason you back up to a wall, you will be able to see through the wall, but the game doesn't read the wall as not being there, so you'll start firing this way even though your cursor is facing that way. However, I think the biggest con of the game overall is the unnecessarily loud audio within the game. You could take the overall volume of the game, cut it in half, use that as the new baseline for 100% audio, and it'd still be way too loud. Developer, please lower this volume by at least half. So, with all of that out of the way, would I recommend the game? Absolutely. I'd give it around a 7.5, and I would definitely recommend checking it out for yourself. At the very least, try the demo and see if it's something that you would enjoy. At a $9 price point, I would say the game is well worth it. Alright everybody, and that's going to do it for us here today. Thank you so much for stopping out. I greatly appreciate you. Hopefully you enjoyed the content and you'll go and check out the game for yourself. Again, a big thanks to keymailer for giving me the opportunity to play this one. But before you go, make sure that you get down in the description, get you in on some giveaways, as well as checking out the other media links, likes, follows, all that fun stuff. And then take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, stay healthy out there, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.